Come, let us meditate like a Jedi. This morning, let us explore the first of 28 passages of the meditation classic Flight of the Garuda, composed by the great Buddhist reformer Prahevajra. The effective teaching of the inexpressible state is without abode or support. To generate a Mahayoga dimension of subtle aspects and intentions is a pointless investigation. A conceptual meditation on the manifestation of truth. Self-originated pristine awareness, however, abides just as it is, entirely free of contrived thinking. So, this first passage begins with a dichotomy, a comparison of two, the wrong way and the right way, the ineffective way and the effective way, the popular way and the unpopular way. So this begins with the revolutionary idea that the wisdom teachings do not need tchotchkes. They do not need special equipment or special rituals or special tools. There is a myth that for one to be enlightened, one needs to be a special student surrounded by special companions in a special place at a special time with a special teacher, and of course receive special teachings. No, there's another myth, and maybe you've heard this before. I'm going to give you the highest teachings. If you don't understand it, it's because you're not worthy. No. If a teacher teaches and you understand, it's the teacher's fault. Comprehension is the responsibility of the person yapping. So, what's this deal about the inexpressible state? What does that mean? What all that means is that the wisdom Buddha offers is not something that can be gotten from a book or a lecture or a secret handshake or a ritual. It is something unique to our experience of the interplay of our own central nervous system with our body. Now that's very, very vague. So I'm going to switch from this teaching text right now to a set of visual aids. Both this teaching text and the set of visual aids are available for free PDF download. So the wise way to enlightenment is the path of being flexible, loving, rational, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. The foolish path that aims for enlightenment but misses is the path of being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. Unfortunately, Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks. 90% of the paths, 90% of books, 90% of teachers are written from the perspective of the foolish path. Allow me to illustrate. Upon the foolish path, we are coerced to actively focus and actively analyze independence upon the dorsolateral and medial prefrontal cortex. Overworking the front of our brain causes us to present with symptoms of depression, no less trigger our amygdala, the seat of both anxiety and aggression. Fortunately, neither the amygdala nor the prefrontal cortex constitute the entirety of our central nervous system. Consider, if you will, our spinal cord. Every time we inhale, we are wired to automatically access the middle bit of our spinal cord, which is known as the sympathetic nervous system and has evolved to help us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, and the like, including the full spectrum of human emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings. Every time we exhale, we have evolved to automatically access the end bits of our spinal cord, known as the parasympathetic nervous system, which has evolved to help us to physically relax and mentally release to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, and even less defining. That is until we begin breathing in again, and the cycle begins afresh. Now, according to the foolish path, we have to perform the mental gymnastics known as analysis and contemplation, or vipassana, if you're fancy. However, according to the wise path, it's enough to simply notice and relax in harmony with our inhalations and our exhalations. Upon the foolish path, man, we are convinced that if it's to be, it's up to me, and I got to be a take charge kind of guy. However, on the wise path, we passively cooperate with the mechanisms that are already in place. All we're doing is simply not getting in our own way. And the super easy technique is simply silently and mentally reciting the verb watch each time we feel our lungs swell, and silently and mentally recite the verb rest each time we feel our lungs or our chest sink. It's just that simple. We don't force ourselves to breathe. We're already wired to do that. We don't force ourselves to notice and relax. We're already wired to do that. We're just choosing to get out of our own way and cooperate vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. Let's return to this morning's teaching text. The effective teaching of the inexpressible state is without abode or support. We don't need to spend 7 years studying to become a monastic and to spend another 3 years in retreat becoming a Buddha. The Buddha taught that one could master his path in as little as 7 days. The foolish path is a long path, a gradual path leading nowhere. The wise path is a sudden path that is easy and effective. To generate a Mahayoga dimension of subtle aspects and intentions is a pointless investigation, a conceptual meditation on the manifestation of truth. For more than 1,000 years, Buddhism has been corrupted. And it's been corrupted by Hindu influences and Taoist or neo-Taoist influences. And again, got involved in all sorts of things. Things where we form rituals and invocations and visualize environments and bodies and sounds and try to force ourselves to emotionally love and intellectually let go. The path of forcing, the path of contrivance, it's the path of foolishness. It's not the path of wisdom. It's the path of difficulty, not the path of ease. Self-originated pristine awareness, however, abides just as it is, entirely free of contrived thinking. Noticing as we breathe in, vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. And relaxing as we breathe out is what is meant by pristine awareness. Now, I'd like to explore that metaphor in greater detail, if that's okay with you. All complex life forms on this planet have evolved to think symbolically. Therefore, it should come as a little surprise that in every human culture we find figures of speech. What is a very old and popular Buddhist metaphor? That every time we relax into our exhalation, that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Now, a simile is only as effective as it is relatable. Therefore, we must ask the question, what? What is a real world having some problem here? Okay, I'd like to give you an example. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever ugliness or beauty we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could simply melt into the simplicity of just sight. Whatever pleasurable or painful emotion we might have noted, let's try this again. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever pleasurable or painful emotion we might have felt during our previous inhalation can melt into the simplicity of just emotion. So it's not a question of changing what's going on, but making peace with what's going on. Sometimes known as the wisdom of no escape. Earlier this week, I was discovered I have a significant infection in my jaw, and I was sent to the oral surgeon. Now, anybody like me who has Ehlers-Danlos spectrum disorder has a very difficult relationship with anesthesia. Needless to say, they had to work on my jaw. Otherwise, it would turn to sepsis. But it was extremely physically and emotionally uncomfortable. And I had to use these techniques not to change the infection, not to change the procedure, but to simply cope. A child seeks escape. An adult knows escape is not always an option. A child's peace is dependent upon everything being just so. An adult can find peace in the midst of chaos. They can make a heaven of a hell. That is the freedom the Buddha offers us. Let's continue. Let's see, I want to push this button here. Self-originated pristine awareness. Remember, we don't have to force noticing. We don't have to force relaxing. They're already baked into our cake, already a product of a happy coincidence of evolution. So this mastery, this practice of mindfulness and meditation abides just as it is, regardless of what's going on, regardless of what of whether that which we are experiencing is external or internal, physical or mental, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque. This pristine awareness, this noticing and relaxing, is not the product of forcing ourselves to practice pre-approved, dusty contemplations. We are not trying to reason our way or coerce our way to peace. We're practicing just as it is. And that is the great irony, that the quickest path, the easiest path, the most effective path is the easiest. Having completed this morning's opening lesson, we can now shift gears. It is Rey Skywalker's Sunday morning. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi. After approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping, this is the Dzogchen Semde Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I can become your personal, nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. For the remainder of this morning's live stream, let's practice. Let's practice mindfulness and meditation. If you are prone to arthritis, you may wish to adjust your legs about once every 15 minutes or so. As we enter into meditation, the controlling tendencies latent within our survival instincts can feel scared that, like Rip Van Winkle, what we might experience as a blink could be more like the passing of a century, wherein, as we get up from meditation, all who we loved have passed on without us. That's a scary thought. That's why it's become part of our collective unconscious. But there's a super easy way around this fear. Bengali crease counting. An easy way for us to keep track of our next 16 inhalations is for us to use the tip of our right thumb to touch the 3 sets of creases, 1, 2, 3, as well as tip 4, found on each of our 4 fingers, 4, 8, 12, 16. Counting 16 inhalations typically takes less than 2 minutes. If you wish to practice crease counting in a way that helps you to sit in meditation for about 20 minutes, then you may wish to use the left thumb on your left hand to count not the inhalations you counted on your right hand, but simply our sets of the 16 inhalations we counted on the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of 16 inhalations each. 5, 6, 7, 8 sets. 9, 10, 11, 12 sets. 13, 14, 15, 16 sets of 16 inhalations each, for a whopping total of 256. In time, you may wish to meditate for more than 20 minutes. You may wish to meditate for 40 minutes or 60 minutes. It therefore could behoove you to keep track of 3 collections of 256 inhalations each. There's a very easy way to do that. To keep track of our first collection, we would simply rest the tip of our left index finger upon the first knuckle, the lower knuckle, on the back of our right index finger. And of course, we'd place our hands palms up in our lap. To track our second collection, we'd simply slide the tip of our right index finger up the back of we'd simply slide the tip of our left index finger up the back of our right index finger until it comes to the second knuckle of our right index finger. When it's time to keep track of our third collection, we would simply slide the tip of our left index finger up the back of our right index finger until it comes to the teeny tiny third knuckle. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist philosophy or meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. For I tend to check for questions about once every 5 minutes or so. As we inhale, we can silently and mentally recite the verb watch. As we feel our lungs exhale, we can silently and mentally recite the verb rest. If you are prone to arthritis, you may wish to adjust your legs about once every 15 minutes or so. Excuse me. All class, all the time. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead to today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.